This is the Pacific Way podcast, bringing you stories that matter to Pacific peoples. Talofa Mbulavinaka, Halo, and Maulile, and warm Pacific greetings to you all, wherever you're tuning in from across our blue Pacific continent. In our villages, on our islands, and along our coastlines, our greatest strength is our people. But too often, many voices, especially women and marginalized groups in fisheries, are left unheard. Today's Talanoa explores the real challenges of gender equality and social inclusion in fisheries sector and why addressing these issues is essential for effective communication just to boost the sustainable fisheries management in the Pacific. We'll hear from fisheries practitioners, women fishers, youth leaders, and change makers who are not just asking for a seat at the table, but to be recognized, valued, and to actively contribute to our shared resources. This is our story, this is our ocean, and this is why every voice matters. Now today we're joined by this amazing woman, Miss Raijeli Natadra, a proud Fijian fisheries professional who've spent over a decade working in the fisheries space, and she recently graduated from the University of Wollongong, right, with a master's in fisheries policy. And Raijeli brings a wealth of knowledge and hands-on experience. She's worked as a civil servant and spent a year with Pacific Community focusing on tuna harvest strategies. She's now a freelance consultant and also passionate about getting more women involved in fisheries management sector. Mbulavinaka, Raijeli.
Mbulavinaka.
Now, before we dive in, let's be honest, most people are just now hearing terms like unconscious bias, gender equity. A lot of this stuff isn't really openly talked about, and especially in workspaces and in fisheries sector. And for many, it's a bit personal, and I'll admit I myself had some misconceptions about it until now, and I'm really thankful for this space, and that's really helping me understand it better. Now, so let's get it down together. Now, Raijeli, have you ever been treated differently in this space, not because of your skills, but because of your gender, where you're from, how old you are, or even how you look or speak?
So thank you very much, Cecilina. Before I go into answering the question, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you and the SPC team for inviting me to participate in this podcast. Yes, I have experienced different attitudes towards people who have already been working in the sector before I came in. This is my experience when I started as a young person, freshly graduating from the university and joining the workforce, coming in with probably less skills and knowledge in the space that I was coming into. There were instances where it's normal for, and I accepted it at that time. But now when I think back, I feel like it's not something welcoming to somebody that has just come out of a university and fresh into the workforce, especially given the different backgrounds that we are from. I, for one, straight after uni, I had to find work to support my family. So when encountering those kind of experiences, it's now thinking back, it's discouraging and disheartening, where I am told you are too young for to go into much more in-depth technical work, probably, if I must say. And also, engaging in conversations as well, little internal meetings where we discuss work activities, where we do debriefings. So as a young person, I wasn't given that opportunity. I was directly told not to speak up, probably because of my rank in the workspace that I was in at the time. But I was thankful that I went through that experience as well, because when I got into a role where I could influence change. There were other young people that were coming into the workforce. By the time I was at a role, I was able to lead or manage a team. I made it like a personal goal to not repeat what I had gone through, the experience I had gone through to these young people that were coming into the workforce, simply because it is first discouraging. And it's something that I do not want another person to go through, because I had experienced it myself.
Now, Raijeli, what are some quiet everyday things that reinforce who's seen as fitting in or who isn't in the fisheries work? In other words, social inclusion, stereotypes, or biases that you see exist in the fisheries space. Can you just share your personal experience that have had negative impacts on you and your career in fisheries? When I talk about this, I just want to know about seating arrangements. Just an example, most communities, tradition says women stay silent during village meetings. We're normally told just to sit at the back and keep quiet while the men make the decisions. But things are slowly changing, and I love that more women are graduating with degrees, especially in marine science, that want to come back home and just to support sustainable practice. Like, for example, this lady, she had a misunderstanding that sharing her knowledge means that she's challenging tradition. And there's just to talk about this misconception, what was your experience like?
Thanks, Sess. So with me, I didn't have an opportunity to work with communities while I was working in government. But I was so fortunate to be, during my entire time as a civil servant, I worked mostly with commercial or big industry, tuna industry, and in the fisheries management space. When you talk about attitudes, so I'll just share a simple example. So in a day-to-day usual, like business as usual in the office, I would see these are things that I observed over the years, and I've gone through it as well. So it's a lived experience for me. There were times where I went into meetings, and there are meetings where I didn't participate in. So I just sat in, so that I was present. I was present in the meeting. I was representing my unit, and that was it. Because I was probably not comfortable saying anything because of what the usual. It's not treatment, I would say. It was probably an unconscious bias from the others, maybe the senior people in the room. Okay, so I've never worked with the communities. Like in Fiji during my time in government. The whole time I was working in government was with the offshore fisheries sector. And we just dealing with big commercialized industry compared to the inshore space. And when you talk about the attitudes in the office and things that I found that were probably challenging for me whilst working in that space, there are instances where I walk into meetings and I do not have the confidence to speak simply because I was a woman or I was too young. I wasn't experienced, or something I would say is wrong. So those were it affected me, my self-esteem or my confidence in my work. I knew I had the skills and the knowledge. It was just maybe the environment wasn't conducive for me to freely express myself because of the expectations from the other people in the room probably, and from the things that I usually hear people talking about other people in general. So I put myself in that scenario as well. So that's what dragged me down during those years.
Yeah, I totally understand. Sometimes when you come into the room like this, especially in a village setting, you come there and everybody just like looking at you up and down, like, okay, I'm just here to sit and just, participate. Yeah.
And as a woman as well, I would say that I think the upbringing as well from, traditionally and culturally as a Fijian woman, we are always told to, it's not in our position to lead conversations or to make decisions, especially when there are those of the opposite gender, they're sitting together in a room.
Yeah.
So from out, I brought them in with me. So it was like a burden for me. I was carrying around that burden and it went with me to my work space. So it's not just the treatment that my other colleagues did towards me. It's me, myself, carrying that burden from my background, my family, and then on to the workspace. I thought that going to university would change me, but the burden of being a woman, a traditional woman in this society and in this age, I know for a fact we still carry that load, and it comes in with us into our professional spaces. And for me, it affects my confidence.
Does it still affect you now? I mean,
now I can confidently say that
command the room when you enter.
I'm now confident in myself, in my potential to progress wherever I envision myself to be in, and there's nothing holding me back except if I allow that kind of thinking, or if I allow other people's perspectives of me to pull me back. So I can safely say that I'm now confident.
Now, Raijeli, just speaking of gender expectations, for all, we often hear gender and we think women, like automatically. But how are men and youth also boxed into these roles in fisheries, and how is it important that they can be advocates for equality? Now, you spoke about pressure. Is there always pressure to be strong, lead, or never ask for help, especially if you're the only woman among a male-dominated space?
Okay, so when I started working professionally, I was at that time I was young. I think I'm still young. There were roles that I was able to get into that were the first for a woman to hold in the space that I was working in government. So there were a lot of expectations, especially when you were compared to people that have come before you, that have held those roles, and they were of the opposite gender. So I had to go through scrutinizations from senior people, from my colleagues as well, just cautioning me of what the role brings and how fragile I was at that time to be holding such positions and to be leading teams. And traditionally for those roles, they were held by members of the opposite gender, and the reason was because of the complexity of the role and how highly political it was, and it's a stressful role as well. So a lot of the seniors at that time, in all the recruitment processes they partake in for these particular roles, they have always ensured that men take the positions. But I was fortunate to take over from my previous supervisor, and that's when I made it my goal to prove to the people that had cautioned me that I could do it, even though I was young, even though I was a woman.
Now, Raijeli, just to talk about tough conversations, and backlash. This is one thing that I've always had with my elders. I mean, not in a bad way, but with my grandparents as well, the know-it-all, But sometimes just speaking up about being fair and then they say like, they label you as trouble, or in most workspaces, like you mentioned, like you worked with the government before, like too political, like you shouldn't go there, or in the local term, or you seen as vive levo. How do you find the courage just to raise these hard issues, especially when it's uncomfortable? And what happens when someone challenges the bias or stereotype or the norm, like you've mentioned? Does the system support them, or does it silence them?
If the system is improved, and I believe through a lot of these conversations, if we come up conversations, not just through podcasts, but gender issues, it's a cross-cutting issue. And I'm a firm believer that if we take the opportunities such as meetings, conferences, workshops, podcasts, videos, where gender topics are inserted into those agendas, I think that no one will have any excuse that they have not heard about gender equality or social inclusions topics wherever, because it is everywhere. And even small children, our children know about gender equality. We are living in a world of technology where everyone is accessible to technology and social media. There's a lot of talks on these social issues. So I have a strong feeling that, especially in Fiji, we can always improve through dialogue and understanding, through respect as well. The system that's hindering us from moving forward, tackling these issues, so that everyone is included in conversations that are important to them. And fisheries is, we are surrounded by the ocean. A high percentage of Fijians depend on the ocean, on the sea, for survival, for livelihoods. And I believe that everyone should have an opinion, should have a say in the policies, in the regulations, for example, that our government stakeholders come up with. So it's through constant consultations and understanding. And I'm glad, through all these different platforms that are coming up. If we look back, 10 years ago, this social gender inclusion, gender equality, all these topics weren't a conversation. Now we are talking about these topics in our dinner tables at home. So I know for a fact that the system can be challenged and the system can be changed. But it's a system. There are people in there that needs to be encouraged to bring about the change.
Yes, and I actually love that we're talking about this. I mean, the onus, does come back to us, for parents with children. I have this open talk with my children at home as well, to have everyone included. And I feel like that can go a long way, just passing it on generation to generation. Now, can we just talk about highlighting, marginalized stories? Can you share a story of someone, maybe a woman, a young person, or someone with disability, or from a remote community who've made a big impact in the fisheries sector, and even when the odds were stacked against them?
Narcissus, because I was heavily involved in the offshore fisheries sector. But there's this young woman that I'd like to share her story. It's not a personal story, but it's just that I've always seen her as a role model. Especially with the roles that she was able to handle during her time in the Ministry of Fisheries. So this young lady was the first ever, and I believe the only female fisheries observer that was placed, that actually went on board fishing vessels. So she went out. She stayed out for months at sea, with all male crew on board. She went through a tough time, and because of that, those challenges that she faced on board these fishing vessels, the superiors, the seniors at that time, had to make the decision to keep her onshore and involve her in other roles to stop her from going out again. But when she came onshore, she went on to other operations responsibilities, and she became the first young lady, the first woman to board a U.S. Shipwrighter vessel. So it's amazing how that obstacle brought her onshore. But there was another opportunity of onshore that made her become the first. So she was the first fisheries observer to go on a vessel to face all those challenges. And when she came onshore, because of the obstacles she found out she was faced with out there, she came onshore and she went into another space, and she became, she kept on breaking glass ceilings in different spaces. So I feel that she had the courage. That experience did not stop her from. Some would have left.
True.
But she stayed. She went on to another because she knew her potential. She had faith in herself, I believe, and I also believe that she looked at other role models in the ministry at that time. If others could do it, she can also do it. So she is one of the role models, I would say, that I'd like to use as an example to other young women freshly graduating out of universities and looking for work in this kind of spaces.
Man, that's so nice to hear. I mean, that she's still paving the way, breaking those barriers for women and the younger generation. If you could change one thing, Raijeli, if you could change one thing in how we talk about gender, equity, bias in fisheries, what would it be? And what would give you that hope that we're slowly turning the tide on these issues?
There's a lot that we can do, but for me, I would say that you had mentioned about children. This is the stage where we teach our the youths are not youths of tomorrow; they are youths. They are the youth now, but our children growing up, in terms of gender equality, because now we know. Once you're an adult, it's very hard to grill in something new. But children, it's easy for them to grasp values and moral values that we want to instill in them. So simple things like from home. If you have boys, you teach them washing dishes or doing the laundry or cleaning the house.
What I'm gonna do with
it's
my
not just for your sister,
even though she's still young.
It's not just for mom or for your sister. It's everybody's responsibility, because from that young age, he will be growing up and she will be growing up with that mindset, in mind to respect women and to see things
a bit differently.
So that's from the home, starting from the home. But in professional spaces, I think that policies needs to change. But for policies to change, the heart to change it, the drive has to come from those who are in the positions to make the change. And I make a plea to those in leadership to think of our young people coming up. Most of us at the leadership level, we came through that experience. It's not an easy experience. We had to push ourselves. We had to find something from within to drive us to keep on going. We have to be overly ambitious to reach where we are right now. So let's not repeat the same cycle for the others who are coming up to go through the same thing that we went through, thinking that it is normal. No, it is not normal. Let's drive change from the top, and it'll trickle down. It'll affect all aspects of an organization, and it'll trickle down to society as well.
Thank you so much, Raijeli, for joining us. That will wrap up today's episode. And well, today we looked at how fisheries has long been seen as a man's world and how that's beginning to change. And we've heard stories of amazing women stepping up into tough roles and why men also have a role to play in making the space more balanced for everyone. It's not always easy, but these conversations will make us move forward from here. Thank you so much for listening to Stars to Sail By. And well, today we also learned why including women, youth, and communities in the fisheries sector and management is so important. When every voice is heard, we protect not just the ocean, but a way of life. Every voice matters. Every story counts. And join us next time for more stories and ideas from the Jesse Fisheries community space. Minakava Kalevo, Tangyo Tomas, and see you soon.